All right. Pop up on YouTube. All right, guys. Oh shit. I don't even think it's. Why is it not popping up on YouTube?
It says it's live.
Okay. There we go. Hi, guys. Welcome.
Oh, that. It's going to replay in the audio.
Hi, guys. Thanks for the tragedy. Welcome to the first episode of Cuck the World. Yes, I'm so excited. And for my first guest, you know I had to have one of my faves, Olivia. Welcome to the fucking show. And today we'll be talking about pronouns, trans athlete, LGBTQ topics of that nature. And Olivia, you're bisexual, right?
Yes.
Yes. And I don't really
before anyone calls me fucking homophobic, disclaimer.
Right? Like just letting you guys know, look, we're Black and we're gay, so we can say what we want. All right. Also, you're a athlete, right? You wrestle in college.
Yeah.
And then you do make content on YouTube, and as in a certified Liberty babe. You know, check out the Twitter.
Thank you.
So the first thing we're going to be talking about, I just want to get out the way, is pronouns. I was in LGBTQ Twitter for like 7 to 8 months. And I came from a place where I didn't really use social media except for when I was marketing in LA. So I would do it for business, but I wasn't really into social media like that unless it was making me money. So when I got to LGBTQ Twitter, I was bombarded with all these terms and these labels and identities that if you didn't get correct, you'd be crucified. And I want to know your experience with pronouns, what you think about them, where do you think it goes too far? Because now there's neo-pronouns. I don't know if you guys know what neo-pronouns are, but it's pretty much taking anything and making it a pronoun. Z, zim, zer. Some people call themselves tree self. They identify as trees. I'm not kidding. Please look this up if you think I'm exaggerating. Another one I have kitten self.
Yeah, anything, any animal, literally any noun they can turn into a pronoun. That's the rule. I'm not on like LGBT Twitter, but I have seen it on TikTok, all these TikTok kids. It's mostly Gen Z. Like it's like most of the people my age are a little bit younger that are doing this shit. And I'm just like, I feel like a grandma when I'm looking at it. Cause I'm like, how are these people like in my generation?
Exactly. So what do you think about the, trans pronouns, she, her, he, him, they, them? Do you think that's, doable?
So for pronouns, I think there's a certain degree of practicality. And Blair White did an interesting, I think, debate or interview with Ben Shapiro about this. Like if you see Blair White and you know who that is, she looks like a girl. Like you're not going to look at her and think, oh, that's a man, right? So if you see somebody who looks like Blair or, somebody who looks like a woman walking down the street, regardless of, what they were born with, you're most likely going to say that girl over there, or she is wearing brown shoes. Like you're usually not going to go out of your way to say he has brown shoes just for the sake of, pointing out that they're trans, because in practical senses, that just doesn't really work. Let's say you're going to a restaurant and you get there after your friend, they've already sat down. You look at the hostess and you're like, hey, my friend is here. She has blonde hair, and you're saying that because she appears, she dresses, she transitioned into a woman, whatever. You're not going to say he has blonde hair, even if you don't believe that a trans woman is a woman, because that just doesn't make practical sense. So in that sense, I would use, someone's pronouns because it's just practical. That being said, if somebody makes literally zero effort to look like the gender that they claim to be, like, there was this huge debate. There was this huge viral video maybe a year or two ago. If you guys saw the GameStop trans woman who was screaming, "It's ma'am, it's ma'am." And this person did not look like a woman. I'm going to be straight up. They didn't look like a woman. They had a very deep voice. They had stubble, like visible 5 o'clock shadow. They weren't wearing anything particularly feminine. They had longish hair. I mean, they kind of had a bob, and that was basically it. So I would not go out of my way to say ma'am, because I wouldn't clock that they were a ma'am. Like that's just it. So unless somebody is actually putting in the effort and looks like a woman, I wouldn't go out of my way to call them a woman. That's just it. And as for neo-pronouns, those are just kids being kids, I think TikTok and the internet enables them, but I will never, ever, ever call someone Z-Zare or bunny self, kitten self, dog self. Like none of that shit. That shit's, I'm sorry. I don't understand the whole like non-binary or like transracial or trans species shit. I don't get it.
Oh, we're gonna talk about transracial because I love that shit. Same for me. It just is a practicality thing. If you're a close friend and you're non-binary and you're kind of androgynous and you have specific pronouns you like, then it's gonna be. Then I know you. I'll put an effort. My brother is 6'2", deep voice, one of the most masculine, traditionally masculine men you'll ever come across, and I call that nigga ma'am. Just because I fuck shit up. I've never been good with labels. I fucking misgender pets. I misgender cis people all the time. So the fact that I'm supposed to like remember some androgynous person specific fucking pronouns, like how many friends are people in your social circle can you have at work and then just your recreational life before you have to remember all these pronouns that don't match presentation? Like I'm not going to remember that shit. I can't remember people's names, you know? So I mean, how the fuck am I supposed to remember all that? Neopronouns, I do think it's mostly, like you said, on TikTok and younger people. But it seems like there's still, I guess, there's still some 18 to 22 people who kind of fight for it and everything. And even a few older people.
Enablers. And I think in some regard, they might be grooming these kids on TikTok, because the only way I can see a benefit into saying, hey, like little 14-year-old girl who's confused about her gender or sexuality, yes, of course I'll call you kitten and kitten self. And anyone who doesn't is misgendering you. And you can trust me, I'm an adult and I'll call you by what you want. Like, to me, that seems creepy to enable that behavior.
It definitely does. And I think you hit on a really good point. People act like, I'm not saying all trans people are predators. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just like there's black people, white people, male, female, cis, trans, there's predators in every fucking category, every fucking thing. So to act like trans people are people who claim to be trans can't be predators and it can't be used to, prey on children is insane. Neopronouns, yeah, man. No one's fucking calling grown. I'm grown. I'm not calling no motherfucker kitten self or whatever. What do you think about the reactive nature, the entitlement nature of, and the reaction to someone being misgendered?
Yeah, so I think back to the It's Ma'am GameStop video again, and this person kicked over a few displays, destroyed some items in the store, shouted at the minimum wage worker who was the cashier, who accidentally said sir instead of ma'am, and then corrected himself and then said, I'm sorry, ma'am. So, and then they yelled and said, I'm going to call corporate. Where's your corporate number? You just misgendered me. It's ma'am. Like, how is somebody supposed to know you want to be called ma'am if you look like a man? I'm not trying to be rude, and then even went so far as to threaten him physically and said that, oh, if you want me to be a sir, I'll show you how to act like a man. Let's step outside. Like, let's fight. So that was completely over the top. That just shows how mentally weak and mentally fragile some of these people are if you so-called misgender them innocently. It's not like this person was like, haha, you're a man, you'll never be a woman, get out of my store, you tranny. Like, it wasn't like they were purposely being rude or disrespectful. They quite literally did not know.
Yeah, I definitely had that experience many times of being online or in Clubhouse, to where people were saying that, okay, you misgender me. There were arguments. Like, all right, well, if I was it was Millie Villy.
Wait, you misgendered somebody on Clubhouse where you can only hear somebody's voice. You can't even see their face.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
This person was like, oh, if you misgender, and the person was like, okay, what were you going to do? Like, it happened. And like, oh, if we were face to face, I shoot you. And I'm like, what the fuck? They're like, oh, well, you can say whatever you want. I have a right to do what I want. And I've heard people go to this extreme so much. And even the people who are not going to this extreme, to say someone's a transphobe, a homophobe, or they hate you because they accidentally misgender you, it's just insane. Also, as someone who's been in the LGBTQ community, these motherfuckers will change their pronouns 20 times in 1 month. All right, she, her, they, them, guys, I'm coming out as a she, shim. Like, they just fucking change.
Some people now go by more than one pronoun, because it's a lot of straight bitches on TikTok I see going like, I'm she, they, I'm they, her. Like, you can use any pronouns for me. She, they, he, him, z, they're like, pick one. Pick one. I'm sorry.
I fuck with any pronoun just because you can't fuck up, but they'll say any pronoun And I'm like, guys, just because I say any pronoun doesn't, and I see this all the time. I swear this is a common occurrence. Just because I say any pronoun doesn't mean to always use she, her. All right. And then they'll change it to they, them because people were using she, her by default. I swear to God.
It's like they want to feel special.
Exactly.
And they'll literally be, it's mostly biological females who would be like, any pronouns or they, she, and they'll say like you can call them a she, but then they get mad when somebody calls them a she. So it's just, you can't win.
Exactly, you can't win. This is something I know you talked about. You have a video called "The Olympics Has Gone Woke."
Yeah.
Check that out on her channel. If you're a sensitive little bitch, you might not want to check that out. Check that out. But you made up some good points about how I forgot. I don't know the athlete name. I think they were a power lifter, and
Laurel Hubbard, weightlifter from New Zealand. Yeah,
and they went their whole lives as a male, and then in their late 30s.
Yeah,
in their late 30s, transitioned and got qualified for the Olympics or whatever, and over other biological female athletes. And what do you think the ongoing problem with this precedent that's being set in the Olympics this year?
That you don't have to be a good athlete when you compete against men. You know, they were not on the Olympic team. They were not winning world championships. They were not setting records. They just weren't that good. Pretty average in terms of how male weightlifters go. So you don't have to be that good as a male athlete, but if you transition to female, we will put you on the Olympic team. And that's the message that they're sending. That's the precedent that they're setting. As long as you take estrogen supplements and get your testosterone levels down, no matter how tall you are, no matter your bone density, no matter your muscle mass, no matter your lung capacity, anything like that, it's literally just the hormonal levels. But of course, there's more that goes into being a woman than just hormonal levels.
Exactly. There's a lot of different variables. I empathize with certain trans athletes. Hubbard, the fact that you went your whole life and you have competed with male athletes before, and you know that you didn't place, you know for a fact that at your T, you know what I'm saying? Like it that's kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I do empathize that, you know, trans people want to be able to compete in sports, and you know, just saying, hey, no, you can't, is, you know, excluding them. However, I think there needs to be an understanding that this shit is new, you know, like this happening, being transgender, this is the progression of it is new. And it's also a very small percentage of people at this time, though I'm pretty sure it's going to get more and more and more common. So I do want there to be some deviation in some ways that trans athletes can compete. Do you remember the UFC when it originally came out? Oh, you young. I don't.
I do know. I used to watch old UFC. I used to be a bigger fan of it than I am now, actually.
Yeah, same. And when it first came out, they didn't give a fuck about weight class.
No,
they didn't care about
give a fuck, nothing. I remember, I think it was one of the Gracies was fighting against a dude that was literally like 300 or 400 pounds, big Hawaiian dude or some shit. You remember that? It was like one of the first UFC fights ever. Yeah. And the Gracie won, but it was just funny. Like they really didn't give a fuck back in the day. People got hurt.
Exactly. So I mean, me personally, I think there will be some sports and some cis athletes that will be welcome the challenge, even if they're like, all right, I won't fight somebody who's my same weight, but if I fight a lower weight class and they're a trans athlete, so on and so on. I think people have to realize that this is going to be a work in progress, and that to actually implement, you know, this integration. And also there might be, you know, some time where trans people aren't competing, or the other side of it, cis women are going to become athletes, are going to become athletes. Like that's just what's going to happen. If this keeps occurring, I don't see how, you know, biological women are going to be able to compete with people with especially when you talk about fighting, you know, talk about sports of that nature. Maybe there are certain sports where it would lend itself to a little bit more even for certain situations. But I mean, when you're talking about body weight, like if you're talking about basketball, a male center, or I mean, a trans woman center, and then a biological female center, dude, that dude's gonna post up on that bitch and dunk. Like she's not gonna be able to do shit. Like there's just certain things that's not gonna work. What do you see as a solution for this, for trans athletes wanting to compete?
I keep saying this, there is no black and white one size fits all solution. I don't believe at this time there are enough trans athletes in every sport, every division to make a whole separate transgender league. So I don't think people are quite being realistic when they say that that's the solution. Maybe a co-ed league is the answer, but the answer simply cannot be having biological males in women's sports, because essentially you'll have a men's division and a co-ed division. You won't have a women's division anymore. It's happening in Connecticut. I mean, there's a lawsuit that's been going on since like 2017, I believe, where in 2 years, 15 state titles were amassed between two transgender athletes in girls' track sports. They literally, for 2 years, they got the first and second place in every single state tournament that they competed at. So the biological girls ended up competing for third, fourth, fifth, sixth place. They were not competing for first and second because they already knew who was going to win every single time. So it ended up being a real issue, and people can say, oh, this doesn't happen in high school. If it happens in professional these are kids who want to work hard, who want to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you good? Okay.
Yeah.
So 2 people, 15 titles.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking insane.
In like 2 years. Every single tournament. They won every single tournament. Sometimes one would be first, one would be second, or vice versa, but they always got the top 2 spaces. And so, as I was saying before I cut out, people can say like, oh, like this doesn't happen at the childhood or scholastic or high school level, but no. And what happens is that college scouts come out and want to hand out scholarships, or they want to hand out admissions to, you know, the top 2 or top 3 place winners. And if the top 2 place winners are biological males, where are the spots? Where are the scholarships? Where is the money? Where are the opportunities for the biological girls?
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely agree with the point. There's not enough transgender people to make their own league. So, you know, it's just it's a weird transition period where I feel like things should be talked about more instead of just implementing certain things. But again, I am empathetic. I understand people want to play sports, but you know, it's to a degree. So my question is, going forward, what do you see? What we know the solution is, you know, kind of convoluted right now, but there's going to be a divide. All right. So on the left, it's kind of very simple of how most people, there's leftists, there's liberals, and liberals are all pretty much on, you know, hey, trans people should be played. But there are some leftists who are kind of silent, but they feel the same way. They see where this is going. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm hard on leftists, but there are a few people who are still have their heads on straight. So I'm assuming that the right is pretty fully united, but the right also kind of seems a little, I'm not going to say exclusionary, but they don't seem to care what happens to trans athletes. They don't really care if they have participation. They don't really care. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just, you can't play, you know? So with that being said, do you think maybe there should be a little bit more empathy and understanding on the right, perhaps, where these people do want to be included?
Yeah, especially when we're talking about children. So when we're talking about high schoolers who want to compete on their team, I do have more empathy for them. In regards to Laurel Hubbard, I don't have much empathy for somebody who competes as a man, knows that they weren't good until they became a woman, and is now on the Olympic team. And I tweeted this the other day. I do think that somebody has to have some level of misogyny to think that it's fair for them to be born and raised and grown into an adult as a male and then compete in a weightlifting competition against women. Like, why do you want to beat up women so bad? Why do you want to compete against women so bad when you know you were losing against the men? So I do think Laurel knows what they're doing. I don't think it's a secret. I really believe that deep down inside, they're like, yep, I know what I did. I know that I sucked when I was a man, and now that I'm a woman, I'm beating up everybody. But for these young teenage athletes, I think now that they're graduated, but when they were in high school in Connecticut, I understand, you know, when you're 16, 17, you're confused, you're looking for your place in the world. Maybe you just want to make some more female friends. So you're like, let me join the girls team. You know, maybe the boys team, they're mean to me. They bully me. They're homophobic. Like, you know, who knows what was going through their minds. So I do empathize with kids a lot more than people who grew up and went through, you know, a male adulthood before transitioning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I was watching your video and you brought up a lot of good points. And one was the feminist aspect of it. Though neither one of us would label ourselves feminists. It's funny because the left very much labels themselves feminists, but they seem to care more about trans women than they do cis women at this point. So in New Zealand, there was 2 women of color, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then Hubbard, a white transition to female trans woman who was a biological male for most of his life and came and took these spots from these underprivileged people of color who worked hard their whole life. Why do you think that so many feminists on the left are so complacent about what happens to cis women these days?
Yeah, I think you just illustrated the point perfectly. They care about LGBT issues more than they care about women's issues, more than they care about minority issues. And I saw this common theme on Twitter, especially when Sha'Carri Richardson was disqualified from the Olympics. And a lot of people, including myself, were making the comparison, like, how is the Olympics so woke that they will allow a white biological male into the women's division, but not a black girl who smokes weed? Like, that's a level of woke that I just can't wrap my head around. But then a lot of people were replying and saying, well, Black women have been historically, over masculinized or demonized and said, oh, Black women are manly, Black women are this, Black women are that, trying to paint Black women as like kind of the angry, strong, vicious Black woman stereotype that would be unfair to compete with white women. So Black women should actually be on the side of the trans women because they're the same. They get treated the same. I reject that notion completely. Black women who are biological women are biological women. There is no comparison between a Black woman and somebody who was born a man. I think that's actually very, very sexist or racist against a Black woman. Like, why are we conflating the two issues of somebody who was born and raised a man for 30, 40 years of their life and is now competing as a female? That's not really comparable to somebody like Sha'Carri Richardson or somebody like Serena Williams, who has always been criticized for being very muscular and very, being a muscular Black woman. I just don't see the relevancy, I guess. I don't think we have to align ourselves with the intersectional LGBT movement to succeed as Black women.
Same. Sorry, my camera just went out for no fucking reason. 1 second. There you go. Awesome, guys. First podcast. Sorry. All right. So with that being said, I agree. I try to tell trans women this before my exit of the LGBTQ community. I believe a lot of these problems happen because of liberal co-option. The way that liberals have co-opted the Black liberation movement is the same way they're going to, co-opt the trans movement. Since the liberals, we see BLM and all this fucking propaganda and all this fucking, Black Lives Matter, but mass incarceration has not gotten better. Violence against Black women has not gotten better. The fucking wage gap with Black women has not gotten better. Black women dying in hospitals have not gotten better. All these huge social issues that affect Black women, doesn't matter. Even the performative shit has fucking gotten worse each year. All the race baiting has gotten worse each year, but issues with Black women has only gotten fucking worse as well. Nothing is being done. Nothing is actually progressing with all this bullshit. And the same is going to happen with trans women. Yes,
the next issue is transracial. I swear to God, in 20 years, the big issue will be you can identify as whatever race, whatever nationality, whatever ethnicity you want to be. They're going to throw LGBT people in the garbage too, right after Black people.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to lose you as a political token. And once they did all their control and social narrative fucking propaganda from fucking using trans women, they're just going to fucking throw you away. So on to the transracial shit. I love this transracial shit. This shit is the funniest shit to me ever. It's fucking hilarious. When people were joking about it and, kind of making fun of trans people by saying they were transracial, I knew it was going to be a real thing. So I guess my question, I'm going to have some trans people on here. I tried to have 3 trans guests and set up a podcast, and most was body dysmorphia issue or being too fragile or, sensitive to come on.
You should ask Blair White. She'd come on.
Okay, definitely will do that. But I love Blair. But transracial shit is going to be next. So to you, what's the difference if you can be born by the logic of you can be born in the wrong gender? why can't you be born the wrong race?
And it's also very interesting because race is much more of a construct than gender is. There's a biological basis for sex and a biological basis for gender. For race, yes, races are biologically different in a sense, but a white male and a black male, they're still both men. They have more in common with each other than they would have with a woman of their same race. And I believe that for sure. So it is very interesting. And also, people are forgetting Rachel Dolezal was the queen of transracialism before this Korean dude came out, or this British guy who thinks he's Korean dude came out. But if I wasn't mixed, I would honestly be like, all right, transracialism, let's go. Like, let's just point out like the flaws within like the anything goes, anything could be trans system. But ever since Rachel Dolezal came out, ever since these white girls started like tanning, the braids, the lip injections, the Brazilian butt lift, now they look all racially ambiguous. Now they look all mixed. And everybody thinks that I look like a white girl that's trying to look racially ambiguous or mixed, like, so it takes away from the actual people of color, the actual mixed people who are racially ambiguous. Like, I'm light skinned. I don't fake tan or do any of the lip injections. My natural hair texture is Afro hair texture. Like, the braids are not to look black. It's just a protective style, like any black woman would have. Like, but the white girls that are coming through trying to be all black or trying to say, oh, I identify as this or I identify as that. Now I look fucking stupid. So stop.
That's hilarious, though. I try to fucking explain that shit.
You know how many times a day somebody says, "Oh, you look like you're trying to be white," or you look like you're trying to be black, or you remind me of Rachel Dolezal because I have braids or because I'm light. Like, this is just how I naturally look. Like, I can't help it. I mean, maybe I should just transition into fully black. I should just get like super dark tan, dye my hair black. Just go the whole 9 yards, get rid of this like big ass European nose. We should just fix it. We should just go full black at this point.
Oh, I was looking at a fucking picture of me when I was a kid, and my brother, it was in a group chat. My mom sent it. My brother was like, "Bitch, you used to be black. What happened?" And I don't know. I tan, guys. I swear. I get so much darker than this. But I know Rachel, the first transracial queen. You know what I'm saying?
She's really the blueprint.
She's the blueprint. It's so funny that I made a fucking post about her, and then she came out defending Ollie London being transracial like 2 days later. I'm like, the simulation be wild, yo. But on that, I mean, I definitely see why it's destructive, but it's comedic fucking gold. I cannot.
Yeah, it is comedic. It is funny. Like, I don't hate Rachel Dolezal. I think she's fucking delusional, but I can't blame her for normalizing it. I think there's a lot of girls out here that, the white girls with the braids and the lip injections and the tan that want to look mixed or want to look racially ambiguous. They're not outright saying like I identify as black, but you can tell that's what they're attempting to do, is to look more black or to at least look mixed or ambiguous. So it's very common, and I'm not offended by it. I don't think it's like cultural appropriation or whatever the fuck. Like, I'm not offended by it, but at the same time, you got me out here looking fucking stupid. So
yeah, I mean, that's hilarious though. I mean, I feel for you because I can definitely see where like it would. I guess it for me as well, since everyone says I'm fucking mixed. But yeah,
that's white in there somewhere.
I mean, we all have white in there somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, my
yours is recent, sir. I swear to God, your grandparent, you have like at least one white great grandparent.
I have a great grandparent, not great. Is a great grandparent who's Irish, and I have Native, and I have Native American in my.
Oh, you Redbone.
But shit, I'm just gonna own it. I'm like, yes, I'm a mixed queen, guys.
Yeah,
fuck that shit. People say I mix. I'm like with country nigga and fucking
with black and African American,
right? Yeah. But you said 20 years for transracial shit. Nah,
it might be less. Maybe like 5 or 10.
Yeah, I'm going with 5, man. I really think they can do it in 5. If you would ask me fucking a couple years ago, I'd be like, we're so far off from that shit. Or is that going to happen after I seen what's fucking going on in the world today? Nah, they can do it in 5. They can normalize that shit in 5 years, man. The Ollie London, if you guys haven't seen the Ollie London transracial saga, please, after you're done watching this, go watch that shit and laugh with me. They were just tripping out in the fucking comments. It was hilarious.
Oh, and he also identifies as non-binary too. So he's trans and transracial. And the only thing how is this not racist? He literally got surgery to make his eyes skinnier. Like he got surgically. I don't want to like pull my eyes back, but you know what I mean. Like he did that to his eyes surgically. And like I'm like, so if a white person does blackface and says I'm black, is that not racist? Like I feel like Asian people, Korean people would be very offended by somebody literally getting surgically their eyes pulled back to resemble a Korean person's eyes.
I know. He not only did he do it, he said, guys, I'm Korean now. I got the eyes.
And he said his pronouns are they, them, Korean, Jimin, like the K-pop person Jimin, which I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know this dude, but apparently they're a K-pop person.
Yeah, I don't know him either, but I heard it so fucking much where it's just, okay, that's the K-pop dude.
Yeah.
But I guess to me, I don't know. I would want to talk to someone who truly feels. I can't wait. I really would love to talk to Ollie London or someone who truly believes that I want to understand what transracial is. But at the end of the day, gender is a mindset. I understand that. Like I said, I really don't mind she, her. If you're a trans, it's just with trans women who look like a woman and present as a woman, it's a lot easier. So I really do not mind using pronouns. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't give a fuck. It's just if I fuck up, chill the fuck out. But I don't want to, I know people are going to get offended, but with transracial and transgender, like if you can be born in the wrong body, you can be born in the wrong body. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can be born with the wrong gender, why can't you be born the wrong race? Like the logic is very similar. And I know a lot of trans people are saying, hey, this is making us look bad. I don't support this. I'm pretty sure most trans people at this point do not support the transracial thing.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm just like, you fucking hypocrite. You fucking hypocrite.
It's more race and culture is more of a social construct. So I think you could better make the argument that it's a social construct that he's white or British and that he should be able to move to Korea and get surgery and be Korean. Like, I think you could be able to argue that for sure. And gender dysphoria is a thing. Body dysmorphia is a thing. Why would, what if you super duper just want to look Asian? That's part of your body dysmorphia. I can't say. I mean, it honestly sounds kind of valid.
I mean, like I said, we're going off the logic of today. To me, I don't see where it doesn't fit in. And for me, onto you said like you can make a better argument because race is a social construct. Agreed. I'm gonna say some shit, and I know people are gonna fucking get mad, but so I grew up in the fucking hood. Been to lots of different places. I grew up in Japan. I ended up back in the States, and then shit got real. And there's a whole shitload of white people. When I was fucking homeless, there was fucking a lot of fucking white people. So when I was in the fucking hood, I don't know, like I see these people all the day. They're in the environment. They're getting shot at. They're getting fucked with the police. Maybe not as much as black people, but they're still getting fucked with the police. They got to worry about getting robbed. They're fucking selling drugs to get by. They're fucking stealing to get by. They're doing the same shit we're all fucking doing, right? So what I just would feel so gaslighted going out to suburban liberal society as a white person who grew up in the same environment as me. And then I'm acting and talking a certain way, like my environment that I grew up in. And someone tells me I'm culture appropriating.
Oh, yeah. Now these TikTok kids are saying you can't use AAVE, African American Vernacular English. When I grew up, that shit was called Ebonics, bro. I don't know who the fuck made who made up these acronyms. And so on TikTok, there are some white popular TikTokers who will use these kind of like slang terms or Gen Z slang terms. They'll be like, no cap, on God, all this shit. And then
all that cringe shit.
Yeah, all these bitches in the comments are like, not you using AAVE, not you cultural appropriating AAVE. Like, okay, there's a difference between like fucking Negro slave spirituals that our ancestors came up with and saying on God. Are you dumb? Like, are you stupid?
Like, I know why it upsets them. It's because when you do it and you're black, especially the darker you are, it's seen as ghetto. It's seen as hood. It's seen as unacceptable. And then these white TikTokers come in doing their dance and shit, you know what I'm saying? And fucking, they're getting all these views and they're like a trendsetter. And I get it. It's annoying. but you're not going to fucking fix that by policing people fucking using words. Like, it's not going to fix anything. Like, it's just, it's funny sometimes, but the policing of words, man, it's getting worse, worse, and worse. I just don't understand. Really soon, isn't it in Canada? There's a hate speech by misgender or somebody. Or
you can like go to jail or like pay like a fine now.
Yeah. How do people think that's not going to divide? If there keeps being, because to me, how bad do you think the divide is going to get?
It's going to be a huge polarization. I know that Americans generalize Canadians are like, oh, Canadians don't like freedom, they don't care. But I think that now that they've become a straight up police state, like, I mean, we saw the Catholic preacher, you know, the Polish guy that was in that viral video, he got arrested for opening up his church during COVID. And I think a lot of Canadians saw that the police state was getting worse and worse. And, you know, you're familiar with Jordan Peterson, of course, right?
Who?
Jordan Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the way he got famous, for people who don't know, is he was in a viral video. I think he was a professor at U Toronto or something. And he was saying, no, I'm not going to call somebody they, them. Like, that's not the vernacular that I know how to call an individual. And it polarized Canada. People were saying he should get fired, he should get arrested. And the other half was saying he should keep his job. It's freedom of speech. But Canada does not have a First Amendment. So they don't have a legal basis for not banning this kind of speech. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of people, like how we have a mass exodus of California to Texas. I won't be surprised if we see a mass exodus of Canadians to the U.S.
Yeah. Shit. Do you see something like that in the way that we're going if things keep progressing and people don't give back? Not to trans people, because seriously, I just think all this shit is dividing us more. I don't want to exclude trans people. I'm not trying to change fucking trans people. I just want people to stop being so divisive and be realistic about the situation we're in. But going forward, if people don't push back on this constant policing, this constant, I don't know how to say it without using conspiracy terms, but this constant fucking thought police shit.
Yeah.
How don't you see us getting there?
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about culture war shit every day. We can talk about pronouns and transgender and transracial every day, but the moment you get the state involved and say you must believe this, or you must say this, that's when we're going to see like some civil war shit. That's when we're going to see people becoming violent and, you know, becoming defiant against the government. So I think we will see an increase in protests, an increase in people leaving certain states or leaving certain countries just because they don't want to be fucking arrested. The UK is going through it too. The UK has hate speech laws now. They arrested people for posting things online. You can literally say something that is transphobic on Twitter in the UK, you will be arrested. You know, you can say something that is Islamophobic in the UK, you will be arrested. You will be fired. You know, you could pay a fine. It's actually just insane. So maybe people in England don't have a lot of issues with it, but I think that there are some conservative or right-wing talking heads that do have an issue with it. I would like to see more leftists or people who are on the left talk about it, because they should be for free speech as well, even if they disagree with it, because I'm the type of person that says, hey, you should have the right to literally say the worst things to me. Like, aside from like literally threatening violence or threatening my family or something, or like saying something that's legitimately dangerous, you should have the right to call me names. You should have the right to call me a slur. And I should have the right to call you one the fuck back, because that's how free speech works. So as soon as we ban what we think is the far right, so in the US, the far right would be like a white supremacist or a white nationalist, something of the sort. So if we ban those types of thoughts, we ban those types of words, the new far right is just like a civic nationalist. We ban those people. The new far right is just a populist. We're just banning people who are just like Trump now, who don't really say a lot of racial shit, but will talk strongly about immigration. Then we cut Trump off. Then the new far right is fucking Mitt Romney. Then the new far right is fucking Hillary Clinton. Then the new far right is fucking Joe Biden. And then it keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So we shouldn't be banning speech, even if it's horribly offensive, because then the definition of horribly offensive changes over time, you know?
Well, I think, as I totally agree, but I think it's like left and right, because look at fucking DeSantis with the whole communism, teaching communism is evil. It's just fucking propaganda. It's just fucking label. It's saying, okay, you can't, and then he's gonna put that in the school system, and then he's gonna fucking ask what college employees and staff, and they have
what their
to declare
affiliation is, right?
exactly like that's fucking suspicious.
I still have to look into that. I am not a Ron DeSantis supporter or fan or whatever. I do have to look into that because I saw people's mixed opinions, but I didn't read the bill yet. But just from first glance, it doesn't look necessary, and it doesn't look like it will set a good precedent.
Exactly. It's a foot in the door. It's not really a big deal right now. It's just asking the question.
Everything right now is about precedent because from an objective standpoint, saying the N-word, like, calling people the N-word or calling people racial slur, that's not good. You should probably be fired from your job if you are that racist to call someone the N-word. But when I think about banning the word completely, I think about the precedent that would set. So I'm against that.
Exactly. Totally agree. I love your objectivity because I really am so against the whole fucking asking people shit. And it's funny because the right was like, oh, well, it's not that bad. Ron DeSantis is just asking the staff what their political affiliation is after he's going to teach communism is fucking bad. But yeah, what if fucking Ron DeSantis or fucking California goddamn governor, he was like, hey, anyone who has a fucking gun, you know what? I'm gonna need you to fucking let me know. We're gonna do a survey on how many times you use your gun, how often you fucking blah blah. They already register it. You know what I'm saying? You're already supposed to register your fucking gun. So when they fucking come and do a survey on how many times you use your gun, then they're like, why are they asking these questions? They're about to fucking kick down your fucking door. They're they're looking for a reason. But when it's just communists, it's because no one gives a fuck about the communists. That's on the right, and they do see them as evil, where it's accepted, and people don't understand. They're doing it too. They're trying to pass it on your side, but they'll use it against you. You know what I'm saying? It won't just affect the commies. They'll set a fucking president, and what they fucking set for you, for someone else, they'll fucking do it to you. And that happens all the time. I don't understand how people aren't getting the pattern of them pushing shit on one side and do it to the other. It's so fucking annoying.
Yeah, it definitely does go for both sides. Because it says to Democrats too. Do y'all think you can genuinely keep your little fucking Red Ryder, your little air pistol, because you said, oh, I want to ban assault rifles? They're just going to redefine what an assault rifle is. They're just going to keep redefining because fully automatic weapons are already banned. You cannot have a fully auto weapon. But now the push is to ban semi-auto weapons. And after semi-auto weapons are banned, the push is going to be for pistols, for shotguns, for long rifles. It's going to be everything. So there really is no line to be drawn when it comes to the government. They've already demonstrated that they will take your guns. They took guns during Hurricane Katrina when people were rioting, when people were stealing, when people were breaking into houses, when people were getting shot in the street because there was a mass panic over the flood and over the lack of food and over a lack of electricity. So the first thing that the National Guard, the first thing that the local police departments did down in Louisiana, down in the South, where there's a lot of Black, poor, brown, Hispanic minorities and people, they took their guns. Because there was a sense of lawlessness around. But the police weren't really helping people. There are people that got trapped in their homes. There are people that starved to death. There are people that drowned because the police and the government did not come. So you can't rely on the government. They will disarm you. They will ban your speech. They will throw you in jail. And the precedent that you set for the other side, whether it be the far right or the far left, it'll eventually come to bite you in the ass.
Every fucking time. Back to some gay shit, because we fucking went on a fucking tangent. Back to some gay shit. What do you think is one of the biggest problems of the LGBTQ community, as in a social issue?
I think you have talked about this a lot, but the push to normalize it to children. And by normalize it, I don't mean like kiss, like doing a little gay kiss on TV in front of kids. Like, I don't think that's the issue. I don't believe like that's a secret gay agenda to turn everybody gay. Like, that's fine. I don't think like gay people need to keep it in the bedroom necessarily. Like, you can like be together in public. However, when it comes to kink shit, when it comes to fetish shit, sexy shit, and that includes outfits, like don't be wearing a thong and no shirt in public. Like, even if it's at a gay pride parade, don't be wearing a fucking dildo hat in public. Don't be wearing your fucking pasties in public. Don't be dog walking a grown man in public. Don't be wearing your fucking gimp suit in public. I don't think kink culture is LGBT culture. Like, gay people can have like a normal relationship without being complete fucking degenerates about it. And if you're saying that me talking about kink culture and exposing that to children is homophobic, then all you're saying is that all gay people are kinky fucking degenerates. And even if you are in your private life, that's fine. Just don't show it to kids. Kids don't need to be seeing that shit. And that goes for stuff that people, you know, sometimes people don't draw the line here. I don't think that drag queen story hours should be promoted to kids. I don't think that kids should be at drag shows. I have a problem with child drag queens. Like there's this kid, I think his name is Desmond, the drag queen. Thing.
Yes.
This kid is on stage getting singles thrown at him by grown gay men in gay clubs. He's singing songs and he's talking about doing drugs in the club. I'm not saying he's being drugged, but it's part of the drag scene to do drugs, to do ketamine, to do coke, and you know, other club drugs. And he's talking about this shit. And so when kids are exposed to drag queens, that's kind of the culture they're put under. I don't agree with that either. And I'm a fan. I used to watch RuPaul's Drag Race like all the time. I don't mind drag, but I'm an adult, you know, and I'm free to watch it.
Agreed. And as a fucking gay, kink-loving sexual degenerate, I just have to say, like, that shit should be away from fucking kids. Like, I'm so pro kink culture. I'm so pro, you know, be fucking gay, be homosexual. I want the gay agenda, as in more bitches to be gay in that way.
For your purposes.
For my own purposes. So trust me, I'm biased here. I'm biased. But yeah, these motherfuckers got so upset on Twitter when I pointed out that there should be a separate event for Pride. All right. One that's kid friendly, where it can be like, hey, if you are gay or you want to, you know, show acceptance, completely kid friendly, not shoving shit down people's throat. Just, hey, gay people being around, gay education, cool. And then if you want to have a kink event, that's for fucking adults. That's fucking fine. That's where I'm going to go. That's where I would think was great. And you want to do kink shit there? That's fine. But it needs to be.
Why do you have to do it in the street? Like, you could hold all the pride events you want at the club. Like, if you really want to dog walk someone or twerk on somebody or fucking do all this shit in the street, there are a ton of gay clubs. I would probably go to one. Like, honestly, I would probably find it fun. And like you said, I want more bitches to be gay. But that doesn't mean I want to push that shit on kids.
Exactly. Or and if it's going to be an outdoor event, let it be like an outdoor festival event that's like closed off or something.
Yeah,
like I'm cool with
tickets or something. Like, don't allow under 18 to come in if
exactly
in there is over 18.
Exactly. Keep that shit the fuck away. Because I understand you don't want to. I totally get it. I'm very liberal with my fucking sexuality and kink and all that shit. I love that shit. I'm sex positive as fuck, but I'm not when it comes to kids. That shit's just fucking super weird. But it's. I will say there was this woman who made an article. I don't know if you saw it, but she said, "Yes, I want kink to stay in Pride. I want my kids to see it." So. Everyone, there's so many people on the left, trans people, cis people, who tore that bitch a new one. You know what I'm saying? There's very much a lot of people against that shit. Mm-hmm. But when I said that shit, these motherfuckers got so upset. And it really showed me, like, I don't really understand. I think, one, they just don't fucking like me. But fucking two, it's going to be really easy to push these agenda when people are so fucking biased. Like, people had to be so out about it. She had to be so obvious about it before it got pushed back. But when people are just like, okay, maybe kids can be there. Oh, you shouldn't bring your fucking kids, or, you know, or I think one person said that their excuse was that they shouldn't bring their kids. But if kids are around and you're still going to do sexual weird shit, that's still on you. You know what I'm saying?
You have a responsibility to not be vulgar and degenerate in front of impressionable children, even if their parents allow them to go, even if they wandered into the park or wandered into the parade. Don't do that shit in front of kids. I've seen way too many pictures of little kids, not even like 15, 16, 17-year-olds, like little kids under 12 years old at these events, standing in front of drag queens, standing in front of half-naked men on the street. Like, it's not appropriate. It's not cute. It's not funny. And I did see this lady's article that was published by the Washington Post. By the way, fuck the Washington Post for publishing that shit. Why would you push that shit? That just goes to show the mainstream media is on their side, not
on their side.
Right. And their whole argument was that it helps kids like sexual maturity, like they won't be weirded out by sex and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that is for you to teach them at home. That is, you can give your kids the birds and the bees talk. You can talk to your kids about condoms. You can talk to your kids about STDs. Even a counselor or their, sexual education teacher at school is going to teach them about condoms and STDs, and reproduction and all that kind of stuff. What kids don't need to be exposed to is bitches in a gimp suit, bitches carrying dildos around. I don't understand how that's sexual health related or sexual maturity related. That's just not.
It's crazy, but they'll fucking defend it. Like, for real. Like, there was a lot of...
It's not normal. It's not normal. And what I think is going to happen is kids are going to think that adults acting sexual in nature around them is normal. And so when somebody gets sexually harassed, like let's say you are a child and you see a grown man holding a dildo at Pride, when your teacher or when your coach sexually harasses you and may show you like their privates or show you an inappropriate picture or show you an inappropriate sex toy or something like that, it's not going to click in your brain that that is inappropriate if you've been exposed to that at a young age. It's just not going to click in your brain. And so you'll be more susceptible to grooming in that way.
Exactly. And to me, it's just so fucking obvious how they're fucking pushing it. I mean, the Washington Post, y'all showed your hand a little too early there. We weren't there yet.
Off a little bit. The mask slipped off a little bit. The Washington Post basically enabled pedophiles by writing that article.
Exactly. And I think the woman, oh my God, her rationalization for it also was that her wife was a husband and he came out later in life. And if he would have saw more kink culture shit, I don't know how one has to do with the other, but if he saw more kink culture shit, he would have came out earlier. And I'm just like, how the fuck did your husband staying in the closet, your wife staying in the closet make you say, hey, let's sexualize kids and show them kink shit? Like, that's not the correlation.
That's a little bit offensive to trans people too, because I think a lot of reasonable trans people would say my identity is not all wrapped up in sexual culture. It's not all wrapped up in kink culture or sexual degeneracy in public. Like, being trans is more than going to Pride and being provocative and going on Grindr and hooking up at Pride. Like, it's more than that. I think many trans and gay people would say it's more than that. So to say that being exposed to kink culture, being exposed to sex culture at a young age would make you feel more comfortable turning trans or transitioning into the other gender, I think that would be, I think that could be categorized as transphobic or homophobic,
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think there's a lot of trans people that follow me who are very anti-sexualizing kid. When they first started talking shit to me, because I started talking about it, they say, fuck that shit. Oh my God. Fuck me. They were fucking pissed off about it. Hold on. But there's so many people who, when they first happened, they were super pissed off about it. So there's like, it's not everyone's not defending it, but when it originally happened, so many people defended it because they're now identified with the LGBTQ. They're identified with the fucking flag. They're identified with the symbolism. So anything that this flag, it has to do with the flag. If they say, hey, Pride and let's put kink culture to Pride, they're going to defend it. Like, I seen people, I put the picture of 3 men on leash with a fucking dog mask and a fucking little girl, and they're getting walked, right? Down a fucking street. And some little girl is going to pet the gimped out submissive dudes. And then they were like, it's fine. There's like so many people.
I just thought it was like, oh, the girl just probably thinks it's like a little puppy costume or a mascot or some shit. She's innocent. I'm like, you're destroying her innocence. She's going to think like grown ass half naked men barking and licking like dogs is appropriate.
Exactly. Exactly. And kids are way more receptive.
Private, bro.
I know. It's just crazy. Like, if you're a voyeurist, you got to find out something other than that. That's just fucking crazy.
There are adult clubs that you can go to enjoy that type of content.
Exactly. And also, this shit gets in people's subconscious. Like, when you normalize that shit, they're being humiliated. They're being submitted. Like, innocent. If it was hetero, it'd be bad too. If there was a fucking dude fucking with bitches on a leash.
No, that's obscene too. That is completely obscene too. I would not want a little girl to see a woman on a leash and be, oh, that's okay for a man to treat a woman like she's a dog. Like, I wouldn't want a little girl to see that either.
Exactly. I mean, this shit's fucking beyond detrimental. But the fact that we're in a society that, again, I don't know why that article was so different from what the fuck was being said by multiple people before. 'Cause I think what Shion had, or I don't know really her fucking name, but yeah, Shion had, she was saying fucking similar shit. And they
people were
fucking,
calling her a homophobe too. People were saying that she was trying to cater to the right wing, that this shit doesn't happen, blah, 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 blah. Okay, look at the pictures from Pride. It's pretty, some of them are pretty obscene. Not every Pride rally, not everybody that goes to Pride is obscene, but there are kids at pretty much all of these rallies, and they do see some vulgar shit, and it's just not okay. And so for a leftist like Shu to call that out, and for her to be accused of being a homophobe or a transphobe, I think it is a loud minority. I do think like a silent majority opposes this, but we have to be more vocal about it, because we can't let people steal the conversation and accuse us of being bigots like homophobes and transphobes for just simply saying that children should not be sexualized. That makes me feel like there are a lot of undercover pedophiles in the LGBT community who would like, yeah, bring those kids to Pride so I could be all sexy in front of them. Because why the fuck else would you want to do that if you're not a pedophile?
Exactly. And as someone who's been to a lot of different prides in a lot of different cities, it varies. But I've been to some wild ass prides. But the one that I went through was pretty good about keeping the kids out and had a lot of events. Miami, they do a lot of events. So yeah, there's a big pride parade, which I think is not kid friendly, but there's a whole bunch of adult only events that are really wild, but they're taken away from fucking kids. And that's just a simple fucking solution. It really is. But some of these shits is really wild. And they're trying to tell me they're not like that. That's not happening. Bitch, I've been to like 6, 7 different prides. Like, how are you gonna fucking tell me? And to me, being able to be aroused and sexual around a kid, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, even when I've heard people like fucking with their kids in a room while their kid took a nap or something, I'm like, how can you get off with children around? That right there to me is just motherfucking sus. All right. Like, there's that shit. I have a high libido, and kids around is a libido killer for me. It's done. It's a wrap. Like, I don't understand how people fucking want to be around this shit. But I do think it is, I wouldn't say it was the silent, it is, I really wish it was a silent majority, but I would say there's a large portion of people on the left who are against it. But man, a lot of them shit, they're done. Like, I just can't believe how many people were, one dude was like, yeah, I took my fucking kid and my daughter there, and there was dudes in assless chap, and it was fucking great. Like, he was just,
why do you want to expose your kids to men's asses? And why do men want to be walking around with their asses out in front of kids? I think y'all both are sus for that.
Exactly. That shit's fucking weird. I can't even, that right then I was like, ooh, do I want to be associated with the left? Because I don't want to be associated with anything. Like, again, I don't care about labels anyway, but I don't want to be associated with a whole bunch of fucking pedo defenders.
I don't think it should be a conservative or right-wing belief to protect children. That should be nonpartisan. That should be universal. We should all agree that we should beat the shit out of anyone that wants to expose themselves to children or wants to groom children or show them sexually explicit content. But we all fucking agree on that, which is like a little concerning for me.
Exactly. That it really is fucking concerning for me as well. But again, shout out to my real anti-establishment leftists. Like, you guys were completely against that. Like, there's a lot of dudes on the left and women who weren't playing that fucking shit, and I fuck with y'all. But the last question, because we're coming up on an hour of this a very controversial topic, would be, why do you think that the LGBTQ community almost seems to equate their whole personality with the aspect of their sexuality?
That's a hard question, because I can't relate to that literally at all. To me, like, if I'm introducing myself to somebody, my sexuality does not come up. I mean, a lot of my people that I know who I'm not very close to wouldn't even know my sexuality. They may assume I'm straight, they may assume I'm gay, but it just hasn't come up, because unless I'm like, oh, like this girl I'm talking to or something like that, they would just not know. It honestly baffles me. But my theory is that it's one of those things where it makes people feel a little bit special if they have nothing else interesting about them. So if they're not good at anything else, if they're not that smart, they're not that funny, they don't have a cool job or anything they can brag about, they're just going to be like, I'm gay and this is my personality, and if you don't like it, you're homophobic, and if you think anything about me, you're homophobic, or you just hate gay people. And it's a common theme I see, like a lot of, I think it's mostly men who will do this, but gay men are very quick to call straight men homophobic if they're just not comfortable with gay shit. Like, it's not a thing where like they're saying I won't be friends with you because you're gay or I'm against gay marriage. It's saying like just stop being like ultra sexual around me. Like I knew a couple people like that in high school. There was this one kid who was a gay kid and he was nice, whatever, but he would be very ultra sexual and kind of make a big fat point about being very flamboyant and very like suggestive to like some of the male football players, and ended up like not liking him very much because I felt like, you know, he was pushing it too much. Like, we get it, you're gay, let's all be cool, like we don't have to talk about sex all the time. But he just refused to stop, and he ended up getting hated on by the football team. And he was like, oh, the football team is like so homophobic, blah 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 blah. I'm like, no, it's because you make being gay like your entire personality, and you're borderline harassing people and like talking about sucking dick and shit to the straight boys. Like they don't want to hear that shit, bro. And it was one of those things where like he just didn't have a lot else going on in his life, you know what I mean? Like he didn't play no sports, he wasn't that smart, like he didn't have a lot of friends, and he was just making his entire personality, and it's not the way to go. But for me, it's like, not to brag, but like I have other interesting things about me. Like I have shit going on in my life. I don't need to be talking about sex or sexuality or relationships all the time. And we're at the point where it's like, maybe I'm a little bit privileged for this, but I am out after the time that gay marriage has been made legal. There's nothing left for me to fight for. I don't have to make a big deal about it. If somebody is anti-gay or homophobic because they're religious or whatever, I just won't be friends with them. They have no power over me. That's fine, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I can feel the same way. I've never like, I thought it was cool to have a community until I figured out what the community was. I'm like, okay, shit, I'll rock the flag and shit or whatever. And I'm like, oh, no, I won't. You guys can have this. Fuck this label as well. But I agree. I think that people just do not want to create their own personality. They don't want to work on their skills. They don't want to find themselves. They don't want to go inside. They don't want to put work into some type of mental, emotional, spiritual skill. So they take a prepackaged fucking identity, you know, and put all these labels. And they try to make up for their lack of internal substance. And I'm not saying this is just gay people. This is like fucking politics as well. Anyone who makes any label, their fucking
personality, yeah. And I think this is the case for those little kids who want to do neo pronouns or make the whole personality being like trans or non-binary or whatever the fuck, because they don't feel special, and they probably feel a little bit insecure about some other aspect of their life, you know. Like, it's usually a kid that is not that cool, you know, maybe kind of nerdy, but is probably a good person, you know, probably nothing that wrong with them, but they feel out of place, and they feel like they have to create a community or create some unique thing about themselves to find other people like that, and to demand respect from people, or else you're transphobic, or else you're racist, or else you're homophobic, or else you're bigoted. So I think that's part of where it comes from as well.
It's true. I really do feel bad for trans people who aren't liberal or not really into the left bullshit, because it's like everyone's kind of irritated with trans people because of the push that's happening, and a lot of trans people and gay people and the LGBT community support this huge push of censorship for entitlement. And it's like, I could understand. I really feel for you. If a trans person who really doesn't fuck with the left, like, you really have very few places to go, because there are a lot of transphobia, you know, in the fucking right. But I hate to use that word now because people have misused it so much.
But there are people who legitimately hate and want to abuse trans people. Yeah,
exactly. And don't want to let you fucking live your life. So these people really have nowhere to go. So I feel like a lot of people who are kind of like, you know what, this is weird. Like, I do want people to use my pronouns. I do want to be seen as this, but if they're not, that's fine. Or I'll either correct them, or if they don't want to, I'll find friends who do. And people with that mentality are totally people I would hang out with, totally people who I would try my best to respect their identity. But I really do feel bad they have no place to go. But the last question, I know I said one was last, but I forgot about it, would be the whole, do you know what the super straight is?
I think, sorry, my dog's moving, but I think it's people who, I think it's in response to people who say that you're homophobic or you're transphobic if you won't date a trans person. So even if you say you're straight, like if I'm a straight female and say I don't want to date a trans man because they like have female parts or they used to be a female or whatever, then I'm transphobic. So super straight is when you're saying I am straight, and that excludes trans people. It's only biological, the opposite sex.
Yes. And I think the LGB Alliance did a reiteration of that, where it's super lesbian or super gay, to where if you weren't born a biological woman and you're super lesbian, then you won't date a trans woman. And that has been called a transphobic movement. Would you say that was a transphobic movement?
No, I wouldn't. And it's interesting because I don't even know where I would fit into that, because I'm bi, but like I can't say that I'm attracted to trans people. Like I'm sneezing, but that I don't know how to rationalize it, because people will say, well, if you're attracted to both sexes, then isn't that transphobic if you exclude trans people because you wouldn't mind dating a woman or you wouldn't mind dating a man? I'm like, it's just I can't control my attraction, so I don't know if I'm super bi or like whatever the fuck, but yeah, I don't think it's transphobic to not be attracted to trans people. I am friendly with trans people. Blair White I'm a fan of hers. I'm her friend. Like, we're cool, but I wouldn't date her. Like, it's just, it is what it is.
But for me, again, I'm such a fluid person. Like, I say it all the time. I fucking hate labels. If I woke up and I was attracted to dudes, guess what? Apparently I'm fucking with dudes. If I wake up and I'm attracted to a trans woman, I'm fucking with trans women. Like, I really don't care. There's a pattern in my dating, and this has been cis women. And the times that I have been open to dating trans women, it was a whole bunch of, it was a personality thing more so than anything else. A lot of problems with body dysmorphia and my body triggering them. And yeah.
So I was like, that would be an issue, but now I can see how that would be an issue.
Yeah, but this actually happened with cis girls who were, had body dysmorphia. So I'm not saying it's only a trans issue, but I have heard other people who were cis who
it would probably be exacerbated by dealing with somebody who has severe gender dysphoria, for sure.
Exactly. So for me, I really don't care. It's just I do have a pattern, but that's life, and I think we all have preferences. And trying to guilt and shame someone into dating you is never ever going to work. They're just going to pacify you or give you an angry response. But this has been an amazing fucking topic. Thanks, you guys. Sorry I didn't fucking read the comments and shit. I'm getting new at this and whatever. But I appreciate you guys so much for tuning into the first podcast. I love you guys. I see some of my friends in here. What's up, y'all? Olivia, thank you for joining me on my first one. Perfect guest. Wouldn't want it any other way.
I'm so happy that I'm your first guest.
Yes, it had to be like that. Guys, I'm going to talk to you guys later and see you next time.